What does it mean to be First Nations in Canada?
It means having a diverse culture, fighting oppression, and rebuilding their communities based on their strong traditional values.
The First Nations people living in Canada have a rich culture. They express themselves through both art and dance. Dance has especially become a part in many ceremonial gatherings. Animals are often incorporated into Aboriginal art, as it has a strong spiritual significance. These have been common expressions within the First Nations culture for thousands of years.
Lift your voice to the one who breathed you life.
In the early 1600s, the Europeans began settling on First Nations land. The First Nations people were happy to share land, but soon enough, the Europeans took advantage of the Aboriginal people, taking more land than necessary and depriving them of their natural resources, such as the buffalo.
In the 19th century, Aboriginal children were taken away from their parents and forced into residential schools. These schools were breeding grounds for potentially fatal diseases like smallpox and tuberculosis. Students were not allowed to practice Aboriginal customs or speak Aboriginal languages. They were poorly maintained to the point of posing serious safety and other health hazards. The schools were the source of great animosity between the government and the Aboriginal parents who refused to let their children be taken away from them.
They were poorly equipped to properly clothe students, particularly during winter months. The food served at these schools were lacking in nutrition value. The work was physically demanding and harsh on students. Teachers were often so ill-equipped that they could not teach students any practical information.
To this day, there is still institutionalized racism in our society, but the First Nations people have persevered through the prejudice and maintained their strong personal values.
The lifestyle of each First Nation society was and is directed and controlled by commonly held values. While the outward cultural expression may vary from group to group, all may be similar by virtue and application of a specific set of values. Good listening skills are highly cherished. Listening is viewed as more important than speaking, especially when elders are educating through oral history. This is a very old process, which reduces alienation between generations.
The First Nations care greatly about relationships with equality and mutual respect. The First Nations people show a lot of appreciation to differences and realize group needs are more important than individual needs. The importance of family is highly valued. There is a great emphasis on having a connection to all things, meaning nature is a part of life. Throughout history, the Aboriginal people have had an important commitment to spiritual life, religion, and health.
Strong culture
The fight against oppression.
and powerful traditional values are what create the identity of a
True
true Canadian
Canadian
First
First Nation.
Nation.